So, good evening, everyone. I just want to say a big thank you for joining us tonight for LCA's Unlocking Nature, which is every second Thursday evening, as you know. Okay, and now what we've all been waiting for. We have in our presence, and you're going to recognize her by her fiery red hair sitting with her camera on over there. So, tonight, the title of our talk or discussion rather is Framing the Truth, a Photographer's Path to Investigative Journalism in Conservation. And this event will be in the form of a discussion with our award-winning wildlife photographer and investigative journalist, Leticia Cox. And yeah, Leticia, I've had the absolute pleasure of talking with you prior to this evening and getting to know you a little bit and also of exploring your website and for Lens Traveler. And I know that Maurette, my colleague, will pop the link for your website into the chat for people to look into a little bit deeper. And I'm very eager for you to share your story, or should I say stories, because you have an abundance of them, and also your passion and your impact in the world of conservation and beyond with our audience tonight. And to our audience, I'm not going to give a formal introduction to Leticia, as I know that you will, through this discussion, get to know about her and her work in a wonderfully vivid way. So, Leticia, I'm very excited to begin our conversation.
Hi,
And
Kristen. Yeah, lovely.
so, welcome to this evening. I hope you're feeling good and ready to explore.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. As a lovely, like I say, opportunity to share my stories and give awareness of what photojournalist or investigative journalist is about. And hopefully, there's a lot of students in the audience or people that are interested in conservation. They get inspired and of what you can do for conservation through my work. Cool.
Thanks, Letitia. And just so
Yeah.
that you all know, Letitia's sitting in Amsterdam, in Holland, and as you can see, she's still got natural daylight, whereas us
Yes.
in the Western Cape in South Africa are in the pitch black. I don't know,
Yeah.
everybody, I can see quite a bit of light for other people in their views. But Letitia, so I'd like to start our
So,
chat. I want to know, when was it that you first picked up a camera? And at what point did that develop into a passion for investigative journalism in the field of conservation?
whew, yeah, that was a
The
very
big
long.
question.
Yeah, and that was a very, very long time ago. I was basically quite, as a child, I was always fascinated by looking at images and magazines. I remember my dad worked for the airlines, and he used to bring those magazines that you could find on the airplanes, and I would just be looking through them as a little kid and think, how can you get these images, and how do you put them there? I was very fascinated with images, and especially when it came to animals and landscapes. And of course, my other passion was animals. Especially cats. That's always been my, as a little child. And then I did a study, which was in finance, nothing to do with wildlife conservation. And I didn't like it. After that study, I decided to move on to the field that I love, which was photography. And that took me pretty much into a wild adventures. So I ended up in Thailand. That was already 20 years ago, as you can see in the image. That's one picture of me with elephants in 2023. And here in South Africa, 2023 and 203 and 223. And I'm still going on the same journey. And yeah, so basically, when I started as a photographer, I joined an animal wildlife rescue in Thailand. It was called WAR, although the name we changed it to War It afterward, because war was not sending the right messages on the t-shirt. War, well, animal rescue. And my first job with them, or let's say, I was taking images, which it was a combination what I was my two passions in one, taking images of wildlife. So I will be taking pictures of all the rescue animals, from tigers, gibbons, anything, bears. And but more than that, I was telling the story, because every animal had a story that came with, they were all rescued either from pet trade, habitat loss, abuse, any story. So I needed to now have images of these animals that I was photographing for the foundation, and then give them and put the story, which generated a new program that it was to raise money for adoption. So it created this adopt a rescue kind of program, which was supporting all the ongoing care that they needed, because those animals they were rescued, most of them, there were different programs, but mostly were animals that will not be able to go back into the wild. So we had the foundation had different areas and places where they can keep these rescue animals and care for them as long as they could. And so and that's when I understood the power of visual storytelling, and especially in conservation. It's not about beauty; it's about how you can tell the truth. And if you can capture that, it's giving more impact through an image. I mean, everybody's not the saying, an image is worth 1,000 words. So I thought, what if we add more words to it even? So, and that's how at this point, I was not anymore a photographer. I became a journalist with, with a camera in one hand and a purpose in the other. And that's how I started my career in the business. And from there, I did more than just taking pictures for the adopter program. I don't know if people know much about Thailand. There's about 40 or more private zoos in Thailand, and they all, because they're privates, whatever goes behind those doors, nobody knows, or at least the authorities don't have much to say, and I know they're going to say much. But so I remember going and visiting them. That was one of my jobs, and as pretending to be a tourist, which I was half. I will get into talking to the caretakers, and they will somehow share with me. I have this phase where they felt comfortable to share. Well, if you really want this pet, I know it's illegal, but and then I start going, okay. And then I will call my boss and say, this has happened. Somebody offered me this pet. And I go, keep on going. And that's how I became this ongoing on a mission, on a secret mission and undercover. And that's how my whole journey of this is it. This is my calling. So that was that 20 plus years ago.
Well, Leticia, I'm picturing you sitting at a desk doing finances, and
Yeah.
it's not it's not resonating right now.
No, it was quite the chance. Yeah. The choice to
Yeah,
move. Yeah, it was good. I'm very happy that I did that.
amazing. Okay, and you've gone from capturing magic in majestic wildlife images to exposing the darker side of conservation. How do you balance your role as both an artist and a truth teller?
Well, the balance is like a dance, and I'm still learning. As you can tell now by what I've just said, there is a huge emotional toll in documenting brutality, especially in animals. Especially they are defenseless. They're just so. But with that also comes responsibility, and I think I learned somebody. I came up with somebody gave me this quote where it was beauty without truth becomes tourism. But also truth without beauty, you risk disengagement. What does mean, like what you just said? So if I just put a horrific image of an animal being, in the worst conditions ever, most people might just don't want to carry on watching the image, and they might not even want to know what's behind the image. They just think that's too much for me, and they just might pull out, and then you just get, like I said, disengagement. So what I want, like in this picture that you see with this penguin, we all know what's happening in Cape Town with our African penguins, but I think by showing this picture, people will stop. So what I try to say is that I usually try to use aesthetics to pull people in, and then hit them with a bit of a reality, like they're in danger and so forth. So at the end of my job is if I can make someone to pause, feel, and then question, then I done my job. And that's what I mean by using, beauty to expose brutality.
Mm, sure,
If that makes
very
sense.
powerful images.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I would be very curious because it's not very clear to me that image that you have of the ocean with the red. You're not going to go into much detail on it, but I would love to just hear something about
Uh,
it.
Well, recently, I don't know if you all know, in Iceland we had this with the kill all the dolphins and the whales, and for specific cultural purposes. And I didn't want to use the picture that I have of the whale chopped off. So I think that's clearly I used this image to just started to tell the story without using the actual body of the whale. What I mean, sometimes we don't need to see the whole picture, but we get the picture. It's almost like,
Mm.
okay, I get it. So I used this picture recently in one of the stories that I was doing. It actually it was quite, yeah, shocking. And it's still going on in 2025. We still use culture as a justification to kill our wildlife. So, and that's what I use this picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, my next question. So, what does responsible journalism in the conservation world mean to you, especially when working in communities that are affected by poaching and trafficking?
Oh, that's also quite a cool question. Yeah, for me, especially in the world of conservation, I mean, being a responsible journalist or responsible journalism is it means listening before speaking. It means to show up to show with curiosity, no assumptions. I know too often I see colleagues, I mean, journalists that they go into a community or to a story, and they already have they want to project their ideas, and they're basically fishing for quotes or that will fit the pre-written narrative. It happens. Some people, they want to cover 3 stories in one day, and they just go, if we do it fast. And to me, that is not responsible journalism. I believe that there's more like you go to a place, and especially when there is these barriers or there is these challenges with culture and language. Um, and if you just go into these places where, like I say, with an idea of what sort of image, what sort of story you want to get from the story, but your angle, then sometimes you have to be careful. I don't know if some of the cultures are not out of politeness or a misunderstanding. Boom, it gets twisted into a consent, and then the whole, and that's to me no, is careless and it's just unethical. I'll show you a story. So going back to Thailand is when I learned to be a journalist. The Thai people don't have in the language the word no. So if I will ask close questions and I'll say, oh, did that person kill that animal? They say yes. And then I go, oh, okay, well, that was a straightforward answer, and that's my case. And then I realized someone said, no, they won't say to you no. So you got to ask the question, they have to be open questions. So again, you have to learn and go to a situation when you're writing a story with an open mind. Listen first before you speak. Because that's what you're there for, to collect information from different sources. Don't jump into, okay, this is what I think it happens. This is what the rumors were. Also, we also go to a situation with already too much information that we think is the right one, and we're not even listening. We're just finding something to confirm what we think we know. And that's, to me, is not real, it's not ethical journalism. The other thing I believe is not ethical journalism is to sometimes to know when not to publish. I know we all want a story. We want to be the first ones running to a newspaper or to our editor and said, I got the story before anybody did. Well, in this line of work that I do, sometimes my informants are the key to my stories. So sometimes I have to do whatever it takes to protect them. So that means not to publish, or sometimes is priority. So again, responsible journalism means that I don't want to expose or exploit the drama of the situation for shock of value or click. It's not worth it. I think that's ethical journalism.
Mm-hmm. Thanks,
And
Leticia.
yeah, and like I said, every story should be to inform people, not to inflame, or to leave behind more questions than and then or it's supposed to be it should more be understanding and then than harm. I think that's the whole idea of journalism for me.
Letitia, I see, I'm just going to mention it right now. I see that there's a little comment that's come in on the chat from Jane Quinn. She says, I love Letitia's photos that don't amplify the hideosity of the whale and dolphin killings in Iceland, but do inspire the curiosity to know more about issues that need to be addressed. So
Thank
that's
you.
yeah,
So
really
it
good.
does work sometimes. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letitia, can you tell us about one of your most impactful case studies involving elephants? I know you love elephants, and
Yes.
what it revealed about the larger criminal networks at play.
Ooh, again, this is one of those with everybody, every journalist wants to talk about. As you can see, this elephant. So I won't really tell the area that it related to the story, but I was asked to look into what I thought it was a human elephant conflict situation, very straightforward, and see what happens. Later I knew that as I started digging, I started finding out more and more of the situation where it was not just a traffic clash between the community, a community member or an elephant or a herd. It was started to get a lot more. And it was so big. It started getting more into corrupt officials, blind eye on the border crossings and trafficking networks. And I thought, oh my word, what did I uncover here? And to just make the story shorter, basically the elephant story that I went to, the elephants were very much the victims, but just basically the scapegoat, or what let's just is like collateral damage. It just took me by surprise. I didn't expect what I found by digging just for the story on the elephants. And that's what I mean by sometimes when you dig into the stories, at least with the way I want to dig, you think just wildlife is not just about poaching or organized crime. They all run parallel. There's the arms smuggling, there's dog trafficking, human trafficking even, which I'm also involved in that kind of stories. And then something like this, what I thought it was a human elephant conflict, ended up being a bigger story involving a lot more than just wildlife and environmental issues. So it is a global criminal economy, and the front line is often hidden in plain sight. And in this case was, oh, it's just elephants and community. It wasn't. It still isn't. But I have to be very careful how I bring it so people will know the whole story. And I live to tell. Yeah, so that was for me, one of the most kind of mix of criminal, I was trying to do something on wildlife crime, and I ended up, unveiling a lot more than I bargained for. So yeah, never a boring day.
The live to tell the tale
Yeah.
is an important bit because I'm now going to go into another question about what your most challenging or dangerous situation was that you faced in the field and whether that then shaped your perspective in conservation.
Um, so as a carry on that type kind of story with the elephants, that is also that story where I turned into a very dangerous situation. I've been working with, I'm not going to say the borders, but we have a border in two different countries, and I been tracking a herd of elephants that they, according to the locals and the authorities, are name damaged elephants. They're going through a lot and they're aggressive. So there was a lot of negativity shine on them, and I just needed to find out exactly what the real story was. So I needed to collaborate with two different rangers, one from each side, and we just spent some time tracking them. And so that was also quite the experience being in the field, which I love, and in the bush. We didn't know, although they're such a big animals, it's very hard to track them because we needed to do it in a way that we were not being too obvious. So we just needed to do this in a low key possible, so we could find the elephants ourselves and check the situation, and then write my report on, is it really true and what's going on here. After a while, we found them. Well, actually, the herd found us, and I was so tired, and I was carrying 7K worth equipment that I decided to sit down by a water hole and put my camera down And all of a sudden, they were there. But at this time, both rangers from each side, they were quite far from me. And then is when I realized, okay, now I'm in trouble. Also because people has given us these elephants have been named dangerous elephants. They travel, they cause trouble, they're aggressive, and all sorts. So automatically we think, okay, now this is a situation where I don't live to tell. And as I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is it. These two little ones came too close to me, which I thought, okay, this is getting even worse. My rangers could not move either because we didn't want to make any sort of movement, just to like I said, not to disturb the elephants or make them feel that we were a threat. And all of a sudden, what happened was I didn't expect it. One of the oldest female, likely to be the matriarch, started shouting, but not to me. It started to shout at the babies, almost like it was a powerful scream, and it was like it was very clear that this female was scolding them to get them out of my sight. And so just like that, they turned around and they vanished into the bush as quiet as they came. And I remember they're sitting going, what just happened? They're just afraid of me. I'm just a human. I'm crouching down on the floor. I'm just tiny. And these elephants, it was this feeling that I got. And I've been in the bush a long time to start reading. And I work with experts on reading animals and elephants especially. And they were not, the instinct was, it was no fear, it was trauma. I mean, for them, they saw us as we're just going to harm them. And that shocked me because, like I said, I'm there trying to do my best to protect them, but they saw me as I am basically the one who's going to harm them. And then it really made me think about and what are we doing? And these animals could have been, they could have chose to retaliate, and literally, I was not going to make it. And then that's how I decided to, realize this is what we're doing. We need to hold a mirror to ourselves and check that this, in general, or in most occasions, the animals are not the problem, it's us.
Hmm.
And that's,
Leticia, yeah, carry on.
no, that's what I still remember it was one of the scariest moments in my life.
Wow.
I was too close, to tell. Yeah.
It's quite a thing to be a ranger as well.
Oh no, they didn't know what to do, and they were speechless. Where they never seen that kind of behavior of the elephants. They also thought we're gonna have to, and none of us we didn't carry anything. Remember, we were trying to think. There was an assessment. We thought, we might not get too close to them. We might not even find them. But this turned into a completely different situation, which it was for what I was. It was out of character for them. I mean, the way, well, not character, just you can see these beautiful, magnificent creatures, and they're afraid of us. Something wrong with this picture, I'll tell. Yeah.
There's a question that relates to that, that's come up in the chat from Peter Jones. He has two parts to his, two questions. The one relates to your earlier answer. He says, when you uncover the dark side of your stories, who are you able to go to who are you able to ask for help? And then the second one is, do you feel safer with nature, elephants, etc., rather than humans?
Good question. So let me answer the first one. Who do I go when I feel in danger? Most people know that, especially the ones who follow me on social media, that I try to do everything on my own, not because I'm just a stubborn and independent. It's because I take risk, and I like to take my risk. I hardly ever want to be with someone where I'm going to put that person in danger, in a sticky situation. So I usually have some sort of contact in the area, or I try to, where they know more or less what I'm going to be if I'm doing something that it could be delicate. But yeah, sometimes I'm on my own. Unfortunately, but I always trying to. I'm getting better at it. At telling people, but sometimes I can't tell, But yeah, I'm trying to get someone local that they know where I am,
Mm.
and they can track me. So live tracking on my phone sometimes is on if I can.
I'm
So
sitting, as I said, I'm in the Western Cape and I'm suddenly being bombarded by very loud rain. So
uh,
I hope you're not hearing that, but
you're hearing it. And
yeah,
the other question was if I feel safer in the bush. Definitely.
yes.
Uh, if you anytime I'm in the bush, I feel safe. Is when I have to go into places where I know I'm going to deal with humans, or I know there's a poacher on the you know in the area. Is when I get more yeah, I start getting a bit more concerned, and that's when I call for help. Not with the animals. I seem to have been long enough. I mean, you never know, and then you just have to be use your logic with wildlife, and yeah, and instead putting even just sometimes a picture, which I'm a professional photographer and a journalist. We all go a bit over the line sometimes. We want to cross that what's the safety line, and but I learned that no, safety first, especially if you are alone. So yeah, but definitely humans give me more the chills.
Letitia, as a visual storyteller, how do you ensure that your images respect the dignity of the humans and animals that you are portraying?
Hmm. So yeah, that's a question that I usually tell the people when I teach photography or journalism. When you take a picture, especially if it's for a story that it could be up for a conversation, I always ask myself when I look at my images, I go, well, would this, what would be the consequences of me putting up this image? Could it endanger someone? Could it humiliate someone? Would it reinforce the stereotypes? And often if there's a danger, if there's people in the images, I don't know if you've seen some of the images work with rangers, I try to blur the images. So I always trying to work on the ethics of the visual, because again, going back to this, what I said before, we all want, some people think because it's an extraordinary image and you think you're getting a better story because you're going to find the guilty person, and or you're going to shock the world and you're going to get more clicks or more likes. Maybe you're going to jeopardize the human in the image or even the animals. So that is sometimes for me is what I think I ask myself when I publish images. I carefully choose them. Also, I don't want, like I just said, I don't want to portray an animal that is a victim into just a victim of suffering. They also are, they are symbols of resilience, and they need to be also portrayed as that. So it's always, no matter how many years I've been doing this, it's always, yeah, you gotta give it your thought. It's not something that, yeah, and I think that's good. I give it my thoughts and I work very hard on. You're never going to please everyone, and somebody's going to always have a problem, whether it's too much or too little. But then I am the one deciding, and I trying to choose my ethical values for the images that I choose.
That image of the pangolin, could you tell me a little bit more about that? And I see that it's got the tracking devices on it. But yeah, would you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, okay. So that's the first time I ever saw a pangolin, believe it or not. And that is a pangolin, and it has a name. His name is Stevie. I'm not sure how many people are from the area they know about Stevie. It's almost quite the. It's not Kulu. It's not from the movie that is just being released on Netflix, which is also, if anyone is into pangolins or wants to know more, that I recommend that movie is amazing, and the people who worked on that are amazing conservationists, and especially in pangolins. And actually, I believe that Steve was going to be on that movie, but then they decided to go for Kulu. And no, he's again being rescued from the illegal trafficking, and was brought to, I think it was Johannesburg, and ended up in Zululand. And he's doing fantastic. He's one of the most friendly, what they call is TV, friendly pangolins. So I was very, still, even with the trackers, it's very hard to find them. It took hours to locate him. It could be in front of you and in the bush, and they just, if they stay still or they crawl, you won't see them. Which sometimes you wonder how could they be? They are the most poached animals in the world of mammals, but they're very hard to spot them. So so that's my pangolin Stevie.
I'd say lucky fish. I haven't seen one yet.
No, it's amazing. Yeah.
Letitia, you've worked with a huge diversity of people, from rangers to NGOs to law enforcement, and even with pilots. And I don't know whether Steve's in the room at the moment, but Steve McCurrich from the Battaliers was the person that linked me to you in the first place. So I'm very appreciative of him having done so. But yeah, would you tell me a little bit more about what role all this collaboration has played for you in your
Um,
investigations?
Yeah, but like I said, I think without collaboration, I would be just a person with a camera, I think. And I can tell you the real heroes are, as you can see in this image, that is actually Steve with one of the Battaliers pilots and a Battalier plane. And we have someone from the African Raptor Center in Durban. And without all the people, the rangers on the ground, the pilots flying, all the animals from, which is a faster way to relocate sometimes, or to save or to rescue animals. Without the NGOs who are doing what they can for conservation, and in even my informants, without them, I couldn't do it. So I believe my job is to connect all the dots, with the collaboration of everyone. And it's not about who is doing better or who's doing more or less. It's about, this is not a competition. I believe that in conservation, we're all trying to do the same. So collaboration is the key. And I think, like, now you can see that picture is one of my favorite pictures. I usually on my solo on my car, but sometimes you just gotta call in the eyes on the sky, and see if they can help you to get to what you can, because sometimes the roads are impossible to reach, or I'm too slow, or we need to get somewhere faster. So again, collaboration is very important.
Letitia, I just see there's a comment from, I think, a friend of yours, Jackie Gray. She says,
Yes.
Collaborating with you is incredible. Come home soon, my friend."
Thank you, Jackie. I miss you too. Yeah, you see. So, like I say, we can't do this. I mean, I can't do this on my own. I mean, and I am very up there on my own. But and yeah, we do this, and then we need the cooperation from everyone. That's the beauty about conservation. We can do so much all together, and inspire others to join. This is what it's all about. It's all our wildlife. This is our planet. This is our environment. This is, yeah. So we all should be working together.
Mhm. What impact do you hope that your work is having on the public, on policy, or on the next generation of conservationists?
Well, what I do hope is I can steer some discomfort. And I know it might sound a bit odd, but I believe if you are comfortable, then you're probably not paying attention to what's going on. So all I want is my work to challenge apathy and spark conversations, and hopefully influence some enforcement of and ultimate empower young. I want to inspire other young storytellers. I think what I do should not stop with me. Should just, a friend of mine, maybe he's on the crowd, told me what happened. That's what you do, is stop with you. And I said, I hope not. I hope I can inspire others. And that's what also the talk with Ted was about. Just to bring awareness, but also to invite people and to inspire people to help in conservation. So this is what I mean by exposing what I do, and give awareness. So, like I said, to steer some discomfort,
Yeah,
and create
well said.
awareness.
Hmm. Letitia, we haven't mentioned your work with broken chalk, and I'm curious to hear more about that. But my question is whether, or that your work with broken chalk investigates human rights violations, including human trafficking and missing children. And I want to understand how you see the connection between environmental and wildlife crime and human exploitation of vulnerable communities. and how covering both of those has influenced your view of justice and advocacy.
Ooh, that's a intense one, but I'll try.
If you
I'll
need me
try.
to read it again, you can shout.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can try to answer it in pieces. So yeah, my work with Broken Chalk. So I'm always been into uh, more into wildlife conservation, wildlife crime, or helping with wildlife. And but fi funny enough, when I started in Thailand, my journey on wildlife conservation on the side, I only did it for 2 years because I needed to make the decision of or either one or the other. So I was also involved with an orphanage. I don't know if you know in Thailand or in Asia, there was I mean, children were abandoned. I mean, babies. I think it was 7 babies were found on the streets every day. I was shocked at how much of that, the orphanages were full of children. So I volunteered to help us, like whatever program there was. And then I also realized, wow, what's going on in the world? All these children, So I'm always been, although very much with conservation, but I always have part of my heart goes to those to speak up or to help with those who cannot speak for themselves. And working for Broken Show, which is an organization on human rights violation, is specifically for education, but as I like to call myself there, I'm the wild card. So I choose to do projects which involve what's happening in Afghanistan, also with education, with the women's rights or children missing. When I'm doing a big project at the moment. And somehow wildlife crime, it just doesn't happen on its own. It's not just. I believe wildlife crime also it's all about also human rights. And so like wildlife crime finances terrorism, fuels corruption, and also robs communities from their own natural heritage. So I believe if we think there is just, if we try to treat it as like a French problem, that they're separated, is wrong. We need to, human rights and conservation and wildlife crime is kind of very linked. It's every time I work on cases, pretty much same syndicates are they all organized crime with consequences and environment. So it's basically the same syndicates that are doing wildlife crime. They are involved in human trafficking and so forth.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's, I don't know if I answered the question. I'm trying to make it into pieces. I know we're on time is
You're doing absolutely great. So I
did
just
it answer
before I
the
open,
questions? I'm not sure if
yeah,
it
no, you
was.
answered the question. I had another question, but I think you've partly answered it. And my question was, if you could unlock one truth towards the world's understanding of wildlife crime, what would it be and why?
So yeah, basically, I think is what I was trying to say in my previous answer is that it's not just conservation issue; it is a human rights issue. Remember, when we're talking about wildlife crime, we're talking about it happens in places where there's poverty. We always have to ask when we go to a place. I mean, yes, the poachers. You also need to take side of why is the poacher doing what he's doing, and responsibility falls into different places, and it comes from somewhere. If there was no demand of a wildlife, there will be no poachers. And it's easy to point the fingers, but I don't know how to explain it in a way that I make myself understood. Is that like I said, it's all. I think they're all connected. Human rights is what's happening with wildlife. It all affects. So it's an organized crime with environmental consequences. And maybe if we can see it that way, we might find a more of a solution than just treating it differently. That's not that they are linked. So
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. Letitia, I'm going to open the discussion up for questions from our audience. We have quite a few in the chat, and I'm also going to open it up to anybody that wants to lift up their virtual or real hand and ask it in person. So yes, please do so if you would like to. I see Peter Jones, I can see your video on, and I see that you have a couple of questions in the chat. So if you would like to ask them to Letitia directly, that would be wonderful.
Hi there, Letitia.
Hi, Peter.
I met you in Uncomo's on a boat that we went with Walter Bernardus out to the Allowal. That's where I met you the first time. Um, when you, I wrote so many questions. I've been listening, so I've got distracted. I'm also ADD, so I tend to forget what I've written about. But yeah, I think it's quite incredible that you work alone and doing what you do, because I think the truth. If one believes you're being truthful, at times you always create enemies, in what you've got to do. So you've got to be quite discreet. And at times, as much as you want to be truthful, yeah, it becomes a lonely journey, whether you're doing what you're doing or anyone in life in general. But yeah, I really take my hat off to you and salute you for what you really do. And, being alone out there and being so vulnerable in disclosing what you're doing. Well done.
No, thank you. Probably I should have mentioned when I was doing the story on the elephants, when I was not hiding but looking for them, we couldn't ask for a lot of help, mostly because we didn't people to know where some people we don't know who to trust. Sometimes it's my line of
Yeah.
work. Sometimes it's hard to know who can you trust. So, and it was supposed to be like we didn't want to tell many people what we were doing in case that they were stop us from doing it. And that was one of the first time I had my first threat after I was in a different, I crossed borders and whatever, and somehow they found me. And that's what I travel solo. I try to do this solo. I will feel very responsible of something that someone who works for me, that something happened to them. And that sounds, but it also works in my favor. I keep on telling, I have friends that are journalists and they sometimes have to stop doing what they're doing because they get threats directly to their family members or friends or their loved ones. In my case, not many people knows much about me personally, and they just think, oh, she's solo. So the threats come directly to me, and they know that I will not stop because the threat is to me, and this is what I put myself up to. So it's harder for them to stop me. I don't know if this makes sense, but that was one of the my choices of doing things solo. I
To
don't
me,
get.
in doing what you're doing is quite stressful, obviously. Dealing with humans, dealing with animals, and just listening to the environment that you're in. Where is your safe place where you sort of get your baseline back again? Like for me, it's getting into the mountains, walking into nature, and getting away from humans. That's what I find, or listening to music, or yeah, just being on my own. So how would that apply to you in sort of your world?
Um, I mean, I do travel a lot by car. Sometimes sitting in my car, going
Mm.
to the next story or the next thing that I'm going to do. Sometimes I travel quite far and it's days, and sitting by myself in my car and doing my music or, the road, that actually prepares me for I get energy from it somehow. It's just kind of, and sometimes although I'm always in the bush, I actually find the bush or the mountains a quiet time for 2 days. So I'm lucky that I found the same place that I found all the craziness and gets me all, stressed. Is also what I found my peace. Funny
Yeah.
enough, yeah.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, and yeah, I remember you, Peter.
Hopefully for the right reasons.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
I saw that there was that Lynn Conrad had her camera on, and she's been writing in the chat. She's a gift officer in the development department at a zoo in California. Lynn, would you like to unmute and come and talk to Letitia?
Here at our zoo, we are more than a zoo, like many zoos now are. So we have a number of conservation programs. We are in 12 different countries, including Mongolia, several places in Africa where we partner. And our boots are on the ground, our conservation department. So you are a great connection to what we do. For me, I would love to have you, if you're ever in the California area, come and talk with us. And I'll explain why real quickly. Talking with donors, we're not a city zoo. So we have to reach out to people, reach out to their hearts. And that is what I do and my fellow gift officers. But being able to have someone come from the field and tell the stories is really important. And more of our people want to give money with purpose. So they don't want to just donate. They want to know that the money they're giving is going to do something.
Yep.
They all get tax deductions, but they also want to know that their money is doing something. So at some point, if you come in our area, we'd love to have you come to the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens, see what we do and share how what you do can help educate and impress and move people's hearts. So thank you. I love the work that you do. I'm 75. I work at the zoo.
Wow.
And I love what I do.
That's it. That's more people with passion. Yeah, but
Yes.
maybe you can send me, or maybe I will gonna give my details so people can contact me or follow me and send me messages if they want for anything. That will be I don't mind. My website, my social media, you can always reach me there, even WhatsApp or email, or and then I can carry on with, yeah, we can, yeah, you never know. I know, yeah, the world is small. And
It is very small, and with people like you, fortunately, it gets smaller, so we can share.
yeah, well, thank you. I'm so glad that you came onto the meeting, and yeah, and carry on. This is the people that I want. People with passion. Doesn't matter. Age is a number. We just have to carry on until, yeah, this is it.
Thank you very much, and we are very passionate here. So
Yeah,
carry on,
awesome.
and thank you for letting
Thanks,
me.
Lynn. I see that Moretta's just put Leticia's website link address onto the chat, so you can find her through the website.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Leticia, we have I was just looking, we've got people from all over. We've got Kenya, the Masai Mara, California, South Africa, obviously, Frankfurt, United Kingdom, and Philadelphia. So yeah, we've got a nice wide net in the sea. And there are so many lovely comments in the chat, some of which we're going to send
Yeah.
on to you, I think. I see now that there's a question by Jane. She has made a couple of comments in the chat as well. So Jane, we would love to hear from you. You're welcome.
Thanks so much. Thank you. This is just so lovely. I
Hi, Jane.
hi. My work I call dung beetle doing, because the maxim is about doing, being in better balance between self, other, and all, including the earth. So it connects very clearly with your work. It's really participatory pedagogy, and this alienation that you're talking about of what will turn people off rather than draw them in is kind of connects with a main theorist in this pedagogy, Paulo Freire. I don't know if you know of him, but it's this notion of conscientization, and it's how I came to it was using what we called codes at that time. It was actually adult literacy for transformation. But your pictures are the point is how they speak to people, how they raise awareness. And I just, so that's just kind of the place from which I'm connecting with your work and how you're doing it, in the
Thank
sense
you.
of that code of emotive content, as much as the holistic relation of interconnection between all. So
Yeah,
just
thank you. Yeah,
lovely. Yeah,
it's very good.
thanks.
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks, Jen. I've got a question from Linky Lamprecht. Linky, I don't know whether you're Dutch. I'm guessing you are, but she says, this may be an odd question. I am an animal and nature lover. I do not see myself as a conservationist or environmentalist, but still truly care about storytelling with nature and animals, giving a voice to those who do not have a voice. Coming from a very conservative view, what advice can you give a young photographer on this topic and how to enter this topic?
That's a good one. Like I said, I was lucky to, or maybe I just bit of a wild child, and that started to go for my passion. So if your passion is photography and wildlife, you say nature and animals. There's plenty, I think. So even going on holiday, I trying to also not promote, but ask people to come to, when you travel, find places in the places where you're going to travel where they have things with animals, and use your photography and tell us stories of your holiday, but not just about, I'm going to see this and this, and I don't know how. That's a way for me to start if you want to tell stories with your photography on animals. If I understood correctly,
Thank you, Leticia. I'm not sure that she's still in the
yeah,
room.
I got really so, yeah.
Okay. So it was a question from Peter Jones as well, and I'm not sure whether he asked it. He mentioned that he was forgetting things or something, but when dealing with the dark side, do you rely on instinct or intuition or on facts?
All of it. I learned to rely a lot on my instinct, a lot. And of course, sometimes you don't know, you can't predict what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm very alert. I don't know, aware of my environment. And that's how I learned over the years, especially because I'm solo. And that's also what you learn. When you got someone, you almost you put your guard down because you think the other person or persons are going to be watching over you. When you're solo, you have to rely on yourself. So all your instincts are wide open. And this is why I'm, yeah. And yeah. Thanks, Peter.
There's another question similar to the previous one. So Harriet Nimmo, she's a South African, and she wants to know whether you've got any advice for her as a South African conservation wildlife photographer just starting out.
Okay, it's a tough one because everybody wants to be, which is great. We all want to take pictures, and I'm glad that there's still that passion about pictures, people taking their cameras, because one of the most subject is animals. And please keep on doing that. So again, same thing, try to, if you're South African, go in safaris, but see if you can not just be another tourist that take pictures. And lucky for us, it's been quite the changes. I've been in South Africa for almost 10 years now. When I moved there, it was a typical, you go into a game viewer and then the ranger takes you around and you take photos. Rangers today are very good photographers, and they will teach you. So go on, if you can afford it, if you can have sometimes in South Africa, you just have to go to a park, Shishlui and Folosi, or some local parks, and use your camera. The best is just shoot, and try different things. And maybe you can start related to the other lady who asked me the question, and maybe you can tell a story. Maybe start looking for pictures that can tell a story, even if it's just to your family. Yeah, that's and your passion will keep on growing.
I've got a question, Leticia, another question. Thank you for answering those. By Babeja Agbula. He said that he's in Nigeria. He said that he was probably not going to be able to be here for very long, so he might not be here, but let's ask his question anyway. He says, why is it that most of the time indigenous wildlife photographers and journalists are not recognized by the international media as a result of restricted funding? As a result, we still end up with a situation where Mango Park continues to discover the River Niger, I'm the wildlife photographer in Nigeria and have to, he's just a wildlife photographer in Nigeria.
Uh,
Is that question clear to
uh,
you?
well, I'm not sure if I can answer his question. I don't, it's not very clear, but he said about because they are local photographers, they're not getting recognition
Or funding, I think.
or
Yeah.
funding. We don't get fundings. I mean, I don't get fundings. Either you want, if you want to get more exposure, you gotta work for a local newspaper or local organization that uses your images. But we don't get unfortunately, journalism is becoming more and more independent job. So you're very much on your own, and then you just hope that and that's what is out very hard. On one hand, you are desperate to get a story that's going to put you out there, and that's why sometimes it's very tentative to cross the line or to just do something just to get the story and make you some money and then give you publicity. And or you just work for a newspaper, or you just do your best. But unfortunately, it is a tough. I don't want to discourage anyone. Please, I want more further journalists up there grabbing the cameras and telling stories. But yeah, it is. There's more passion than salary. Definitely, but it's all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. All worth it. Do you have any more questions from the audience? I see, Linky, I see you there. Did Leticia answer your question okay?
Sorry. Yes, she did. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks,
Sorry.
Linky. Thanks for being part of the audience today.
And I can say, everybody is welcome to, if you have, so after that you think of a question or you couldn't answer or you couldn't ask it, please, I'm open to anyone. I love if people wants to send me a message and who has questions for me or more advice specifically. I'm happy to help and to answer your questions.
Fantastic. I see there's a hand up from my colleague Johan Kruger. Johan, go for it.
Kirsten, there's a question that slipped through the net from Stephanie, and knowing that she is actually a psychologist as well, she might want to chip in and help answer her own question. But she's asking, and she's also an excellent photographer. So I think this is like a photographer to photographer kind of question. I would love to hear how you find ways to cope with photographing distressing events like the Mawana elephants or the dolphin killings. Having done undercover visits to captive lion facilities to photograph them, I realized the emotional toll it takes to photograph animals in distress while having to appear unaffected. And once Leticia answered that question, I want to ask another lion-related question, please.
Oof, yeah, that's a tough one. Somehow, I love what I do. So my camera is part of my extension to my arm, and yeah, those when I have to take photographs that they're not pretty anymore. This is brutal. Now I'm taking pictures of something that it turned your stomach. But maybe because I'm behind. I started by I find myself almost safe when I'm behind the camera. It's almost like maybe nobody can see how much it's affecting me, and then that was the start of me trying to, okay, now it's becoming, this is my safe spot. I have to do it because I know that although it's hard and sometimes it's like you don't know how to find the strength to do it, I'm thinking of the purpose of this, that what's going to happen after that I go through taking the image, and then I know something good is going to come out, even though it's taking my stomach is just I mean, I've seen things that I wish I could just erase and delete like a digital image. But so yes, it's you find the strength somehow, because you know there's a purpose to it.
Great answer.
Good. So you go first.
Thank you. Leticia, when we were meeting, you shared with us a lion incident that happened to you, I think, as a child. Do you mind sharing the story?
Oh, yeah. It's about lions, right? Because The reason why I also got into conservation was, or animal, when I was about 10 years old, I was visiting a zoo. No, it was a zoo. It was kind of like, it was like a game reserve. But the animals were wild, but not as wild as you will go in South Africa. But I was out of the car, and a lion grabbed me. And basically I disappeared from underneath him. He kind of hugged me and pulled me down, and it took a while for my father and the ranger to figure out that, oh my God, she's under the lion. I don't think the lion did it just to hurt me. And what it was even more shocking to everyone, that I didn't cry, I didn't scream or anything. I was just as happy as any 10-year-old underneath the lion. And it was only when they tried to pull me out from this lion that it didn't want to let me go. I was holding onto the lion, and I got quite bad lacerations in my lower back, quite bad. And there was chaos. Actually, funny enough, there was a newspaper, I'm sure about one or two people with cameras, and the news were that I was being molded and eaten and killed by a lion. It was not true. I'm here. But what that did was didn't got me scared of wildlife. Actually became more like, wow, this is what happened. This is now human. I should have never been out of the car. I actually put myself, it was my fault, not the lion. And I realized that was the beginning of, I need to understand this. We need to find a way, how do we coexist? Or what is it got me thinking, and this is what I'm doing today. I'm trying to help the lion. I didn't want the lion to get into trouble at all. And yeah, so, but it was me, and that's sometimes the case. So that was my story with the lion. And as my father used to say, I was born twice, the day of my birth and the lion incident. But yeah, it got me thinking, and my favorite animal is still big cats. I wasn't scared, and he could have killed me. I could have been gone in seconds. So full-grown lion, by the way.
Thank you, Leticia. Thank you for telling your story tonight. Kirsten, Maret reminded me that there's a lovely photograph in the collection titled The Road Ahead. So perhaps that would be, maybe if all the questions are answered, that could be the last slide. There's a Ivan Albert's question, a Peter Jones question. Thank you.
So thank you, Johan. I'm just trying to get to my chat here. I wanted to actually, there's a couple of people here that I would love them to introduce themselves to you very quickly. Leticia.
Yeah.
The one is Jacinta. She's from Uganda. Jacinta, would you like to introduce yourself to Leticia, please?
Hello.
Hi, Jacinta.
Hello.
We'd love to hear from you.
Happy to hear from you too. My name is Jacinta, and hello to everyone here. Leticia, you're doing such an amazing job. I happen to be a communications coordinator, so I do some photography every once in a while, depending on what I have to report about or what I'm handed. So what stands out for me today is how sensitive you are about the audience that you're sending stuff out to, because like you mentioned, many of us could get carried away in getting those views and the buzz going. So it's quite an insightful thing for us this evening. Thank you for sharing your experience, and you're quite brave too. That's admirable.
Oh, thank you.
So maybe just a bit of background. I work with a conservation field station in the center of a forest. And so when you talk about feeling safer in the forest, it's actually quite relatable. Or away from people, it's quite relatable. And I'll be glad to share with the rest of our team. There's quite some takeaway points here. Yeah, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
thank you.
And thank you. And then, keep on taking photos. And like I said, we can use art to send a message and awareness. I think it's a beautiful combination. I think I'm lucky to have found, a voice, let's say, through my camera. And yeah, And I want more people to do that. It's the safe.
All right, thank you. And Custom, thank you so much for moderating so well.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks, Jacinta. Thank you. Thank you for your lovely voice.
Oh, thank you.
Leticia, I just see that there is another question, and I think that it's probably one that everybody wonders about. It did come up very briefly before, but it's by Ivan Alberts, and he says, "How does Leticia finance her amazing activities?"
Mm.
Yeah, so I will, like I said, because I'm an independent journalist, I do other jobs, also related to what I'm writing. I'm also a graphic designer. I do quite a lot of things, and then sometimes I do sell my stories and the images. So, but yeah, it's self-founded. Yeah, yeah. Oh, do I have good news? I'm not sure if some people that I know they know me, but I'm working on starting a new foundation. So because as I just by myself, I think I can do a lot more if I have more support. So I'm working on starting a foundation for conservation, a nonprofit. So I can do what I do bigger if that's possible. So yeah, but that and it's also maybe more funders can come in. But for those who wants to do similar work that I do, it is tough. It is, like I say, it's more passion, and you do have to do something on the side. I remember a very good friend of mine is called Joe McNally, is a well-known photographer in America, and he used to tell me, to all the photographers, if you want to be a good photographer, keep some job on the side, because so you can do what you love, but somehow find a way to pay the bills in the meantime. So yeah, thanks for the
See, there've been
question.
a couple of there's been a couple of comments that have come up that you could look at citizen funding and conservation grants.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leticia, there's so many lovely comments in the chat box. So many saying thank you for this amazing presentation and for all the learnings that you're bringing and for your passion in what you're doing. So thank you so much for it.
Thank you.
And I think it's now time to put up your lovely final photograph and maybe talk about your looking forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I look forward to do more of what I'm doing, and like I just briefly mentioned, if I get my foundation up and running, I hope to inspire more and to bring more of this, to link all these conservation organizations as well. Like I work with Bateliers, with Project Rhino, African Raptor Center, and all the other many conservation groups that I work with, and keep on collaborating and doing what we do. So this is what I look ahead for.
Fantastic,
And
Leticia.
thank you. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to have you on our
Awesome,
Unlocking Nature
Kristen.
platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And but like I said, if anyone wants to contact me or have a story or anything or want to know more, I'm open.
Perfect. I know this won't be the last time that we see you.
Hope not. And
Okay.
thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Leticia.
This is
Thank you,
awesome.
everybody, for the evening, and enjoy the rest of it or whatever time of the day you're in.